Here's one I feel like I might have missed in the test. The office administration. And there is a financial management section in the test. And I was looking at this and I was thinking, did I miss something about the prepare financial statements? Felt like balance sheet, assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. That sounded familiar to me, like it might be in the test. Property and equipment, sometimes referred to capital or fixed assets, are assets needed to carry on the business of a company and are not normally consumed in the operation of the business. Land, buildings, equipment, and furniture would all be considered fixed assets. That, I feel like it's definitely something in the test. The land, business, buildings, equipment, and furniture, fixed assets. That sounds really test content to me. Intangible assets include patents, franchises, and goodwill from the acquisition of another country or another company. I don't think that those words come up, but I think that they have at least one question about the fixed assets. The working capital. Assets minus liabilities is working capital. Measures the liquidity of the company's assets. Liquid assets are those that are easily converted to cash. Licensing agencies may look at working capital to determine license limitations. The balance sheet is usually requested by potential lenders to determine credit limits. Following sample illustrates how the balance sheet equation and accounts are used in the balance sheet. The income statement, sometimes called the profit and loss statement, is a summary of the company's revenues and expenses over a given period of time. Income minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. Gross profit minus expenses equals net income. Selling expenses and fixed overhead. The selling expenses are costs incurred to market the business. Fixed overhead expenses are those that cannot be linked to a specific project but are necessary for the operation of the business. I think that might have been something that was in the practice test, but I don't remember it being in the actual test, a fixed overhead, but I'm not sure. Here's one that I'm pretty sure they ask about in the test is the methods of accounting. Cash method. You report the income in the year you receive it and deduct expenses on the year you paid them. It's easier of the two accounting methods. Holds a disadvantage. The cash method does not match revenues with the expenses incurred related to that revenue. This gives an inaccurate picture of the company's overall financial situation. The accrual method, you recognize income when the services occur, not when you collect the money. The same principle is applied to expenses, which are recorded when they are incurred, but not when you pay for them. Most construction businesses use the accrual method of accounting. So, I think the accrual method and cash method might be a test question. They might ask if cash or accrual is used better for construction. And then the answer might be accrual. I might have gotten it wrong because I said cash method, because that's what I do. I don't take out loans and all that, but that's just my model. They want contract accounting, accrual, average gross receipts. Here's one that's definitely on the test. Is they ask, when do you turn in the food tax for March or June? It's one of the months, and they say if you have food tax, $500, and the quarter ended on, I think it was March or June, then what's the due date to turn in your food tax? And it's April 30 or July 31. But this chart is like ran the test using this little chart. And report food taxes on Form 940 or Form 940 Easy instead. 940 is a test question, or an answer to a test question. So you gotta know the dates, and you gotta know 940. "10-day notice before filing a lien." Gotta make a notice 10 days prior to filing the lien against the owner, owners, or agent. And filing of lien. The statement of account or lien must be filed within 120 days of the last work done or materials supplied, and to be safe, including repairs and punch list work. Oh, excluding repairs and punch list work. "120 days to file." The section on the building code doesn't really get into the building code at all, but it says like what number each building code is, which, if there is a question, you'd think it would be simple to find the answer about like which building code, and then it would be like use the number. It wouldn't go like which building code has something to do with fuel gas code. Like it's gonna be section 101.22 or section 101.11 or section A Shri 91 or A Shri 1011. Like the answers are very confounding. But the appendix is right behind it. And the appendix is completely useless in the test. But you'd think that it would have like a bunch of answers just out of the appendix or the index. You'd think there would be an index, but this is like a book about like tax withholding and stuff. Like, you don't think you could use this book on the job? Be like, oh, I need to know like when I should file my withholding. Oh, that's over there in that book right there. But there's no index. Another confusing thing about this book is you get into the appendix and they start saying the same things about the same stuff. So the first time I went through it, I thought, well, I'm at the end. I'm at the appendix. Book over. But no. Plenty of questions come straight out of the appendix that aren't even in the rest of the book. Contractor who, after notice and hearing, is found to have violated or used the contractor in violation of this chapter pays not less than 100 or more than 400 a day for the civil penalty. However, the penalty shall not exceed 3% of the total project being performed by the contractor. I think there might be a question that asks about that 3%. Like, what's the penalty given to a contractor that something something is 3%. And the question has like 1, 2, 3, or 4%. I feel like this was not in the test, but I feel like it should be in the test, so I'm just gonna go over it. We got 3 years to of which an act or omission on the basis of the processing occurred. So, the statute of limitations for catching somebody on a working over their license or outside of their license is 3 years. I feel like that should be a question in 3 years. And then you have to pay within 30 days. And they have 15 days, including holidays and Sundays and Saturdays, to serve the contractor with an order of abatement. Then it goes into who's on the board, which that comes up in this book like so many times that I know it's not a test question. Even though it's got a lot of stupid numbers. Shit that you really never have to know. Like, unless you're going to sit on the board. And your argument's going to be that you're one of these guys. You qualify to sit on the board in one of these spots. That comes up in this book so much, and it's not on the test. So, here's one of those stupid magic numbers, 750,000. And that number comes up talking about financial statements, talking about penalties, talking about, but it's 750. And that question comes up in the test where I went looking for what the question was, but the question isn't right there. And the whole book has said 750 multiple times. So that's just a magic number. And you gotta remember the magic number when they start throwing big numbers at you is 750,000. That's how dumb this fucking test is. Minimum business related net worth. New applicants must have 1/2 the minimum net worth requirement in cash. So heavy, highway, airport, railroad, municipal, utility, and building, it's 50. And I went straight in and tried to get my building license. They don't want to give you just a building license. They don't go, okay, here's a building license. Even if you show up with 50 grand cash, they say you have to have a regular nobody contractor's license that doesn't have any requirements, and you got to have that for a while, like a year or 2 years before we would give you a commercial license or a building license. There's light building for 20, mechanical and electrical for 20, and a specialty for 5K. And specialty contractors are usually like a cleanup crew. the materials that somebody used other than designated, if they are valued at $1,000 or more, then there could be a penalty of up to $2,500. So your unlawful material use penalty is $2,500. Filing a lien, you have 10 days notice before filing a lien. So you have to give notice 10 days prior to filing the lien before you put one in. So commercial real estate, which is of more than 4 units of residential real estate, or commercial real estate, the notice for a lien on commercial real estate is gonna need a notice before 75 days has elapsed from the time that the labor was supplied or materials furnished. So you got a special commercial notice. Amount of days, 75. Within 3 days notice, the person claiming the lien needs to file a bond and up here the question of the bond. At the expiration of 3 days, the person shall not have questioned the sufficiency of the bond or surety. If the circuit clerk finds the bond to be sufficient, the circuit clerk shall note the filing of the bond upon the margin of the lien record, and the lien shall then be discharged, and the claimant shall have recourse only against the principal and surety open the bond. So I guess if you get a lien on somebody and they file a bond against the lien, and you got 3 days, or they have 3 days to pay off the lien with the bond. And pretty sure that the way the test is, it'll be asking about a bond and how long you have to file one against a lien. But I'm not sure. It definitely dogs you this page, so probably is that, but I'm not sure. got the payroll tax credit for increasing research activities. May elect to claim up to $250,000 of its credit and increasing research activities. The payroll credit tax credit against the employer's share of Social Security tax. And the election of that credit is made from Form 6765, credit for increasing research activities. The amount from Form 6765, line 44, must then be reported on Form 8974, qualified small business payroll tax, payroll credit for increasing research activities. That would be a good thing to spend money on if you have a lot of research to do. I don't know where the line is with that. I don't know anything about it. It seems like that might be a question, would be the small business qualified payroll activities research, and that's a $25,000 tax credit. And then they might ask you to file what form would you use, and that would be 6765. They might ask what form is used for that determination of the credit, and that would be 8974. The whole tax section is, they throw tax questions at you. What form do you fill out for this? What form do you fill out for that? It's really hard to remember the number of every form to file anything, but it's really good.
Now Lowry for birdie.
I don't remember there being an employer organization
Back to 15. Here's the co-leader.
or Prevention Act of 2014 being in there in the test.
He's not going to be happy with that. And the perfect angle after getting so lucky off the tee. We get that on the 14th.
I somewhat remember Cobra. I don't know if I'm remembering it from being in there or being just something that I've seen before. But to claim Cobra premium assistance credit, filing a 941X before filing a Form 941 or 944X before 944. That might be in there. I almost remember looking for this page and thinking, what? Like 941, 944, like that was really confusing on the test.
Number 7 were 240 front, 253 Paul Hammett. That was his
Well, that's the
fourth
difference between a annual and a quarterly Cobra form. Is the 941 is for quarterly, and the 944 is for annual. And then there's a number of how much employment tax you have to file a quarterly or an annual for.
As we go back to 14.
I'm trying to find it. There's the answer I'm looking for. It's if you believe your employment taxes for the calendar year will be 1,000 or less, you can file a 944 for annually. If it's over 1,000, then it's a 941. And then there's another, I think it's probably in here, I don't know, it's somewhere in the book, and it talks about the day and the date and the calendar for when you have to send your tax forms in, and when you have to send, you're supposed to send your employment taxes quarterly or annually. Apparently, if it's under 1,000, but quarterly on such a date, send that into the IRS. All this makes me think that it would just be easier to have somebody doing the taxes and have like a tax lady, like that's what bookkeepers are for. But I guess you could do your own taxes even if you have employees. You could do employee taxes on your own. And when you're a contractor and you aren't a single or a seasonal employer, even if you don't have employees at the moment, which happens in construction because there's a lot of hit and miss bidding, there's a lot of when construction just slows down for everybody, or you can go from being a contractor to being a superintendent or whatever, and then you're hooked with that. You still have to file a 941 or 944 and file at a zero wage. So that really favors using hiring agencies, really. They're really, those temp agencies are really like useful for all the time you're going to put into filing taxes and all, you know, it's almost like you're hiring them to do your taxes. Employees. Your non-payroll tax withholding goes in from W-2G.
Felt like I'm battling all week just to give myself a chance to have some special stuff happen today and put myself in the clubhouse with maybe a chance.
Goes in on a
You did say this week you felt like you were playing better than you were scoring, and today you certainly scored well. So let's take a look at some of the highlights that got you there, starting with your birdie on the first.
Yeah, it's nice to see one go in early. I mean, I felt like I had a lot of good putts this week and hadn't really seen the ball go into the hole, so that was.
Well, I read through the whole book again.
Went off the 16th hole.
And here are
Disappointing finish for him.
some questions that I was not sure about the last time I took the test. This time, now, I'm so sure that it was 10, because I'm pretty sure I put 15 on that test. But the amount that I read about the commercial contractor getting a bond, instead of a financial statement, is definitely 10.
First start on the PGA Tour since winning the FedEx Cup. Goodbye.
66 for Tommy. And a tie for third.
Okay, I know a partnership is not for the corporate tax. Designate managing partner.
Birds for par.
It must be designate managing partner.
All that havoc going on yesterday with the winds.
Qualified.
He was actually able to chip in for birdie in the middle of all of that.
God,
Look
dang
at the
it.
second hole.
I really think that it's 7 days, and I think that
Is staying loose.
that is one that I just cannot remember.
We still got her up
I'm
to
gonna have to go back and look at that, but I think it's 7 days. And I think I remember when I read it, I was like, wow, if you're the only qualified party in a construction company and somebody pisses you off, you got a lot of power. You can put the whole job
Back to Brack's facility. It's up the
in the
hill.
hole.
We gotta go through the hay. Par 3 course here. It's been a little easier to stay loose when you go to the second tee box. Now Jake Knapp. See if he can do what he did yesterday. With his bookend eagles at 1 and 18.
Oh, that rhythm is enviable, but that one's on the wind a little bit.
And they
Probably
disturbed that one with a little bit
employees.
left of the green.
I don't know
Yeah, that's
how
kind of
to
daunting when that
get
large
that
body
one
of water
through
out there.
pressure. Who's responsible for safe employees? It is the employer.
Back on that tee, thinking
Hold on.
through what he's gonna decide to do.
Most accurate info for
Changed it over. He had a 2-shot lead after knocking at the birdie at 16. And then blew up ahead. After on the 2-point birdie on a lead. Failed to get up down for par 17. Just like that for tie.
maybe the manufacturers.
Just a medium iron for a decade from a beautiful angle.
Maybe the manufacturers are the teams, but
So,
I think the manufacturer knows
good putt
better.
coming up from Ducky. Well, he would have given last week for that tee shot.
Anyway, we're gonna go take the test again. I'm gonna look up, see if I can qualify a party, because that was one of the specific questions.
Right to left.
You like
Yeah, it's 15 days
Like driver for him here. Go ahead and
after the qualified party leaves. They need to notify the board within 15 days, and then they have 90 days to replace it.
About 270 to that tree.
So that sounds like plenty of time to find another opportunity.
Remember, there used to be 2 trees out there. There's a lot of talk here locally that by next year's tournament, you're going to see another one out there. Good. It'll be a companion
That's
to
it,
one
15
that
days.
remains. One
That's the
was
magic
washed away
15
in
that I was,
a brutal winter
that I
storm
thought
about 5
there
years
was
back.
lots of magic number 15s, but it's just the qualified party question. Next to the other.
5 in to the green.
Which was the 15 in
Kyle Moore, Kyle, but Cal Bear,
rather than 10. For anything being like a
for
green
success on the tee box.
65.
And it's getting over.
This got me fired for knowing.
Hi.
Behavioral control. Facts that show whether a business has a right to direct and control how the worker does the task for which the worker is hired. Include the type and degree of instruction the business gives to the worker. An employee is generally subject to the business's instructions about when, where, and how to work. In a subcontractor relationship, the business generally gives up the right to control the details of the worker's performance. Training the business gives to the worker. An employee may be trained to perform services in a particular manner. Independent contractors ordinarily use their own methods. Type of relationship. Facts that show the parties' type of relationship include written contract describing the relationship the parties intend to create. Whether the business provides the worker with employee type benefits such as insurance, a vacation plan, pension plan, or sick pay. The permanency of the relationship. If you engage a worker with the expectation that the relationship will continue indefinitely, rather than for a specific project or period, this is generally considered an employer-employee relationship. The extent to which services performed by the worker are the key aspect of the regular business of the company. If a worker performs services that are a key aspect of your regular business activity, it is more likely that you will have a right to direct and control his or her activities, indicating an employer-employee relationship. So, if you're told when to show up and how to do something, you're not an independent contractor.